Hi guys, in today's video I want to talk to you about brooding. Now if there is anything that I was scared of in poultry farming is the part of brooding. Now brooding is a period when so many birds die. When if you do not do brooding very well, then you're going to affect the production of the birds, especially for layers, even broilers. So in this video I want to share with you tips about how to make a good brooder, how to brood your birds from day one up to week 4, and then you'll be able to have the best poultry farm. You are welcome to my YouTube channel, Asperia here, and let's get right into that. So brooding, for starters, it is a period of time when these birds come from the hatchery. The very first place they go to immediately after coming from the hatchery, and so this is the time when they need intensive care, when they need serious attention. They need very good temperature, very good feeding, very good, so immediately after making the poultry house, after putting litter down in your poultry house, you have to make a brooder, because you cannot, especially if you have a few birds, you cannot put them in a whole house. They need a smaller place where they will have enough warmth, or they will have enough water. So you make a small place inside your the poultry house, and then you gazette it and make it into a brooder. So in my house, since I was starting small, I didn't really want to be that extravagant or that expensive, because we try to improvise as much as possible. So we used boxes to make a brooder. We used boxes. Some people can use plywood. Some people can use I've seen people use timber, but for us we used boxes. So we made a brooder in a kind of a round form, and then we needed a brooder paper to put it down on top of the litter, and its purpose is to help these birds not to sink down inside the litter, because they are very small. They can easily enter inside the litter, and also because the birds are very young, they cannot recognize the feeders, the trays. So we throw food down on the brooder paper, so that is when they learn eating. So, but sometimes people can use newspapers. I've seen people use boxes. I think it depends. As long as you have made your brooder very well, it is very good. Okay to use anything, but I don't really buy the idea of using polythene bags inside the brooder, because they sweat. And so after you've made that brooder, you pick your birds from wherever you are buying them from, and then you bring them. So the very first time, the first moment as you bring these birds, you don't give them food. When you give them food, their intestines, their body, their system is not yet ready for feeds, so they can easily get constipation. And so many birds have died during brooding, and it is because of that mistake. And so we didn't give food, we give glucose. Some of the birds come when they are very tired. You look at them, they are very tired. So this glucose helps them to get the energy and be able to look around and be able to see the food. It also prepares their system to start their feeding. So inside that glucose, to avoid constipation, we put some few drops of cooking oil. Yeah, we got that from our fellow farmers, and that helps the birds not to get constipation, and it helps them not to even die. So during that time, the birds are very young, their system is not used to feed. Just like a baby, they don't start on this serious food, they start on that colostrum, and so after the introduction of that glucose, after the first 2 hours, the birds can take that, and then as they finish, you see them trying to move around, gaining some strength if they had been tired. And then from there, you introduce them to feeds. And the feeds, we give them, we use pre-starters. And since we use the cow-dyes feeds, they have designed them in form of pellets. And so those pellets, we throw them down on the brooder paper, and also some of them we put on the trays. And I love buying trays that are colored, so that they can be able to see something nice and they be able to start eating. And if the birds are in good health, they start eating immediately. And the most important thing you should observe and monitor inside your brooder is the temperature. and the temperature should be between 30 up to 35 degrees Celsius. If it is below, then it is cold, and those birds are not going to manage. Some of them can die or even get respiratory diseases. And so make sure the temperature is very, very adequate. And you can do that by buying bulbs that generate heat, though they consume a lot of electricity, but they can also give light as well as heat. And secondly, you can buy these charcoal stoves and light them prior to the bringing of birds. Before you bring the birds, make sure you've left when you have put the stoves and the heat is enough. By the time you put the birds down from the boxes, the temperature in the brooder is very adequate for them and very good. So that will help them to cope up. But if it is so cold, they will come and they will be packing themselves, and in that congestion, you end up losing a lot of birds. So when you have organized your brooder, you have done every other thing, you have brought your chicks, you have introduced them to pellets, you keep monitoring them. Now these chicks inside the brooder, day one, they have a tendency of packing themselves. You find they are packing themselves somewhere, and as they pack themselves, they sleep on each other, and so many die in there. So your work as a farmer is to move around and be able to chase them and be able to play around with them. Most of my videos, you've seen me banging somewhere so that they can run up and down. I don't want them to be packed, so you don't just put them in a brooder and go and sleep. So many people even spend nights inside the brooder just to avoid that. Then another thing you should look at is lighting. They need light inside the brooder. Make sure there is light, because remember, the whole house is now gazetted. We have it is looking dark because we don't want air, like too much air, to come in and disorganize our temperature levels. So you are going to put bulbs at the chick level. You put them down so that the chicks can be able to see the feeds. So you are going to have a high electricity bill, but there is not something to worry about. It is very important to be careful during breeding, because if you do mistakes, that is a period when your chicks are growing, internal organs, vital organs of the birds are growing. So if they are not handled very well, if they don't eat proper feeds, if they don't get enough temperature, they can affect the production in the future. So be very careful during brooding. So be sure you are doing brooding. Actually, brooding is not very hard, because the intensive care, we give them the very first 7 days. After the 7 days, they are now developing some feathers. Then you can now remove the brooder paper and reduce the light, and also be able to regulate the temperature. They are now able to survive on some low temperatures. So even if it rains, they can survive. So the first 14 days are very important in the brooder. However, it is also very important to allow them go up to 4 weeks so that they can eat proper feeds, they can be able and get good attention. So after that, the rest of the journey is going to be successful. And make sure you vaccinate these birds as it should. There are so many times when, as farmers, we compromise. We feel like, the birds are okay. You don't give them Newcastle, you don't give Gumboro, and eventually, when a disease comes, it affects the entire flock. So during brooding, be able to observe all the things. Be able to observe the biosecurity. Actually, inside the brooder, it's not recommended to go with gumboots, because you can easily step these birds. Their eyes, they are not yet normal. They are moving up and down. So we always go on barefoot. But that foot, you have to disinfect and make sure it is not sick. It is not having any diseases. You are not just from the market and stepping into the brooder. Observe the biosecurity and be able to protect your birds from diseases. I think I've talked most of the things about breeding. If I've forgotten something, you kindly remind me in the comment section. But at least I'm here to encourage you to stop all the fears. Breeding is possible and you can do it. Others have done it. It is easy. Please don't buy these birds that are old. Buy the day one and breed them so that you can get profit. Thank you so much for watching. I believe you found something helpful. That is so, like this video, share it with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe.